Hello and welcome to the World Happiness Festival. My name is Orla, and it is my great joy to have this space together with two dear friends to discuss the work of Wake Up Schools, the vision of Thich Nhat Hanh for mindfulness and education, and how we can live a happy life. So, allow me to introduce Brother Freedom. Brother Freedom is a Buddhist monk, and he's a disciple of Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. He is acting abbot of Deer Park Monastery in Southern California, and his heart's desire and monastic aspiration is to help people see their true selves and to deepen connection within and between humans. And he says, often with his foot in his mouth. And that helps remind us all not to take ourselves too seriously. So, Brother Freedom, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Ola. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so grateful, so grateful. And dear Michaela. So Michaela Becka from Germany has been a teacher for 21 years, and she has taught in Germany, in Croatia, and at a German international school in California. She's in elementary school, and she's worked a lot in special needs education. Michaela is also a Wake Up Schools Level 2 teacher and is passionate about bringing mindfulness into the classroom. She feels blessed when her class turns into a community based on understanding, compassion, and with a good pinch of humor. So, dear Michaela, you are warmly welcome. I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you.
And I should say that they are sitting side by side because they're also brother and sister. Michaela's the little sister. So I'm delighted that that we have the space together. So maybe we can start with the insight that our beloved teacher Thich Nhat Hanh offered us, that happy teachers can change the world and are changing the world. So Brother Freedom, maybe would you share a little bit about Thay's vision for mindfulness and education and the invitation that he offers us that as teachers to be able to live happily?
Yes, sure. You know, Thay's message to all of us has always been to live life freely as a free person. And you see this memorial ribbon from Thay's funeral. It says, coming and going in freedom. So until his passing and further on, this is the message of Thay's life. And many calligraphies have been titled with freedom. There was be free where you are. There was breathe and be free. And the introduction, the book for the introduction to monastic life for our novices is called Stepping into Freedom. So that's really and clearly Thay's message for not only his monastic disciples, but for all practitioners, for all people, to realize that we are free. And I believe that Thay's vision was to bring that attention also to our children. Because our children, when they enter school, they enter as free persons, and they enter as carefree persons, as playful persons, little people. And often they leave school not being free. So I can say that Thay's vision was to build an educational system to empower teachers to teach children, young adults, whoever adults, in a way that not only those children can remain their freedom as a human being, but also cultivate that in themselves as teachers, so that we can teach from our own experience and share what we do live for ourselves, living in freedom. Thay says that being a practitioner, being a a mindfulness practitioner, a mindfulness practicing teacher, is to be a gardener, planting, watering seeds in our consciousness, in our hearts, wholesome seeds. So this image is very beautiful. And our educational system begins with kindergarten too. So really there is something to that word of gardening. And in a garden with seeds, which we call, or maybe in another language, values or human needs, they're wholesome seeds and they're unwholesome seeds. So it is up to us to recognize the seeds, the wholesome seeds that will nourish our students and will keep them growing beautifully. And of course, there are also unwholesome seeds. And at the end, the practice is about to embrace and recognize them all and use them what they are good for. It is not always true that unwholesome seeds are good for nothing. But we want to focus on watering the wholesome seeds because we all know bad weeds, how do you say, bad weeds grow tall anyways. So we don't have to care for them. They will grow if we water them or don't water them. So our responsibility is to see also and recognize when unwholesome seeds are taking over the garden and start watering seeds of, in our case, in the practice, it is first of all the seed of mindfulness, and then seeds of understanding and compassion and peace and freedom, so that our garden grows well assorted.
That's such a beautiful analogy of a rich, nourishing garden. I've heard Ty say that the classroom can be a second home, that it gives us a second chance, and that in our home we might not have strong peace or calm or joy, but that maybe the classroom can be a place where we can experience that together.
Exactly, yeah.
So, Michaela, I know that your path of practice has grown in this very beautifully natural and organic way from something that was um, you connected with personally, and then it grew into your workplace. So, I'm wondering, could you share a little bit about how it began and then how it bridged this gap into the classroom?
Yeah. Yeah, as my brother said, when he went to Plum Village as an aspirant, aspired for the monastic life. So before that, I've never heard from Thich Nhat Hanh, and we were raised Catholic, so I didn't have much contact to the Buddhism world. And of course, we wanted to visit him. So my husband, who's also a teacher, and our two little girls, well, now they are almost grown, but back then they were still in kindergarten. So we visited Plum Village for a week and we loved it immediately. So it was surprisingly totally different than what we expected from a monastery, like especially as a young family. It was very joyful and playful, and we spent a truly happy time together back then. And we started meditating, also the kids. We noticed that there's something which helps us decluttering all the layers we've put on, like as a teacher, as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend, whatever you need to be to function in the society and in your workplace and your family. And very soon we, as parents, we realized that our children reflect that. So they see that the parents has transformed in a way and feel maybe more free or less judgmental, So yeah, it was very natural to take this experience also into the classrooms for my husband and for myself too, little by little. But we also saw that there is a lot of work to recognize all the blockages we had inside of us for a mindful teaching, the whole progress. So to understand what is a mindful and peaceful teaching or a peaceful community, like with loving speech, deep listening, all these helpful tools. So to learn these, or just to get in touch with those and to practice this, took a long time. So I would say it took us years to feel it very deeply, and to be able to be so contagious that our students just reflected what we were, like as what started as a family. So then, yeah, but it takes practice.
Yeah, sure. I do. We were just have finished a teachers retreat for an international group of teachers from California all the way to Japan, and it came up during the retreat that children don't do what you say; they do what you do. And having a peaceful presence, or a kind presence, it's very contagious.
May I say something to that? Because it reminds me of another vision of Tai. When Michaela spoke about the layers and practicing personally, and then getting the aspiration to share this with her classroom. So that's a process growing, right? And you think these are different persons in you that are practicing, living, being a mother, being a teacher, being a friend, a daughter. So Tai realized too that you are not only a teacher, but you are much more than a teacher. And he also says that he often, when I refer to the garden again, if I may, he often uses the metaphor of a flower. And he says a flower consists of many non-flower elements. So a flower consists of soil and the rain and the sun. And there are many conditions that make a flower a flower. So if you take only one of these other elements, which are a non-flower element, out of this flower cannot be a flower anymore. And I believe this was also his vision for wake-up schools and mindful teachers, happy teachers. So also teachers consist of non-teacher elements. They are parents, they are daughters and sons, they are friends, they are suffering, they are happy. And so a teacher is not a separate personality within you, but it has to be seen in the context. And a happy teacher has realized that and embodies, internalizes, and lives and expresses this aspiration, I would say, becoming. So being a happy teacher or mindful teaching becomes more a way of life than a profession or a job from 9 to 5, right? So to build a whole human being, to develop a whole human being.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's resonates very deeply. I was thinking about teachers who sometimes well, I think sometimes teachers they simply want to learn some mindfulness exercises in order to control their class more skillfully. That they think, oh, a bell is good. And often I go into schools and teachers will go, where do I get one of those bells? Because the children love the bell. And I was like, the bell is not what you think it is. People sat and enjoyed the sound not because I was telling them to be quiet, but because I invited them to take a moment for themselves. And I know that sometimes teachers have a habit, like there's this desire to share the practice very quickly. And Michaela, you spoke to this, I think, where you said, that you gave yourself time to really embody and walk this path. And so was there a moment when you thought, maybe I'll make mindfulness a little more visible than simply, than my presence, than my way of listening, than my way of speaking? Was there an exercise you introduced with them?
After a while, I worked also in a school with a very social, weak background. So it was a lot of suffering among my students, and I was not able by that time to see it or to feel the compassion from a distance. So I was deeply into their suffering as well, and I needed to change something. And then the teachers retreat, Happy Teachers in Germany, in the EIB, in 2016 took place, and I immediately registered. And that was so helpful to get connected to, it was also an international retreat, to get connected to other teachers, to hear their stories, to exchange, to share, but also to dive into the practice. We had daily wonderful Dharma talks by Brother Fabium and Brother Fablu, and circle sharings. So that helped a lot. When I came back to school, I tried a lot of the exercises we tried back then. And I remember in a talk, Tai Fabium said, like, when your class is too noisy, just try walking meditation in front of your class. And while listening to this talk, I thought, like, this never works. You know, like, this is clearly a monk among the monastics, but not in an elementary school. So back then, I went to my class. It was so noisy, but I knew I won't yell one more time in my class, never again. So, you know, I tried to just sit and wait, but they didn't react. So I thought, give it a try, why not? And I started walking meditation. And after, you know, like breathing in, breathing out, I totally forgot about my class. So I really was so focused on my breath, and it was so, you know, like it was so good for myself. And suddenly the class was quiet. And I thought, oh no, I want to continue my walking meditation. So I invited my student. I said, oh, thank you so much for waiting. And you know what? This is so much fun. I really enjoy the silence and walking in silence and slowly. Do you want to join me? And whoever feels like it, just, you know, like, come into a row. So everybody, the whole class of 20 students did a walking meditation in the classroom. And from that moment on, it just worked. So I saw that the power of mindfulness is really like irradiated when you live it. Yeah, as we said, it is contagious. The students see there's something's going on and they're just curious about it. And whatever they make it quiet, you know, like, or yeah, come back to them. So slowly they enjoyed that too. And I saw this, and there was a moment I could, you know, like, to try more and more. And I saw that they trust me, they feel safe in the class. I felt safe in the class to try things. And it is more easy as an elementary school teacher when you have your class the whole week, like every weekday, several hours. It's different from my husband is in secondary school, when you have your class just an hour and not even daily. So you have to be creative then. But when you see your kids every day, you can build up a little Sangha very quickly.
Sure, it's a strong influence. Yeah, that's wonderful. And Brother Freedom, I know you teach this practice of mindful living all over the world, and you seem a very happy teacher. So may I ask, what does being a happy teacher mean for you in terms of living a daily life that feels meaningful?
Mm-hmm. Yes, as a monk and a Dharma teacher and a mindfulness teacher, and especially as a student of Te, of the father of mindfulness, right? I feel my responsibility is, and my aspiration is, to remind myself of my true self, of this true home Tai speaks of, which we can only find in the present moment, who I really am, that free person. And to remind everyone else of that too, to be kind of a pillar, a solid pillar in society, in a fast-paced and full of distraction society, to stop and to listen to oneself, and to learn to embrace also difficult moments and to be with them, and to see our beauty as a human being, and to see our potential and to use that potential, and to be able to watch our thoughts and our speech objectively and act accordingly. As that gardener who steps into the garden and sees which plants are wilting, need a little bit water, where is the bad weed taken over, and maybe uprooting some of them, making it lighter. And I also see that I have to walk my talk. It doesn't, as we just said, you have to internalize it, you have to embody it, and then you can share and express it. It's hollow if you just speak about it and you learn it from a book and you try to, as you said, like try to pass it on to the class quickly, expecting them to grasp and to understand and get it, if you don't live it in this moment. And I love this example you just gave, like Michaela was able to take care first of herself, right? She saw she was suffering. There was a bad weed in her. She was impatient. She was maybe frustrated. She was maybe even fearful if this will stay, if she will have the power to stop them, because she also vowed not to yell at them anymore. So that, you would say, reduces your capacity to intervene or to direct the class into another path. But what she did was accepting what was and to take care of herself. And then to practice it in front. And that was not only beautifully taking care of yourself, but also courageous, like to step out. And there was nothing else you could do. If you would have said, like, please, everyone, be quiet, please. I don't believe that would have worked.
I tried
many times. So being a role model, starting with yourself and showing that courage and showing yourself vulnerable for yourself, first of all, daring for yourself to step out into the arena, showing yourself vulnerable, being the target of mocking young kids, takes something, and that's adorable itself. And then to do it, and I love it. And it's not like a happy end thing, but I really believe this is true. And this is also one of the powers of meditation, is the faith that you believe that the practice works. And if it doesn't show results immediately, at least we know we are still gardeners and we have planted a seed. And this seed might take some time to grow. In my daily life as a teacher, I'm teaching aspirants, monastic aspirants and young novices in the basic practices. And I'm getting angry and frustrated with them because they just don't get it, what I have to teach, or they're getting angry at me because they see that I don't believe that they can get it. There are many opportunities for us to practice. So what I have to do is I have to do exactly that and see first, where am I at? And I have to listen to myself first, to stop and see, is there anxiety? Is there frustration? Am I angry? And I can only see, hear myself, recognize that emotion or these thoughts, and then starting by accepting them and accepting myself as I am. And I think we have to do this with our students too. When you see they're not as I wish them to be, you start with yourself, because there's something going on inside of you right now. And acceptance helps a lot already.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the analogy of cultivating good seeds reminds me of a frustration that teachers sometimes have. They have a fixed idea about how children will respond to mindfulness. So they think, I'm going to make everyone like Yoda, everyone's going to be peaceful, everyone's going to be calm. And then, that does not happen. Mm-hmm. And they can, they can judge a child who's very energetic or very curious. And then they can approve of a child who that seed of peace has managed to come up in. And, sometimes when we're sharing about it, I encourage them, you had mentioned like this, the soil and the sunlight, to just stay with the conditions under which a seed can flower. You know, the soft kindness of mindfulness, you know, the gentle rain of love, and this really well-nourished soil. Because a seed might be very deep. It might not have been nourished for generations, and that's not their business. Like, their business is the conditions under which a seed could manifest, and when it manifests, it's not there.
You also have to flip side that and see that from the perspective of the students, of the kids, and the pupils, because when you come up with something, mindfulness, like, what shall they think? Their curriculum is so different, and they don't expect anything like this coming, right? So they have to also show acceptance in a way, and a curiosity. And they also have to overcome their irritation, what is going on with my teacher. So it's not only that teachers are expecting something, but also students are expecting something, because the curriculum is just not made, or every day doesn't just look like that. And it might seem strange and aloof.
Well, also society. And that's also what we just learned at the international retreat, when there were people from countries with difficult governments, or, you know, like military oppressions. So this is totally different for those kids. And I would also say, like, when it took me many years to practice and to embody the practice, I can't expect the students to do it in a week, or, you know, like in a lesson. Yeah. At least it takes them as long as me. So, and of course, as a teacher, I am also in charge of the environment in the class and the vibes. So when I enter a class, I need to make sure I'm in the present moment, and I don't take the stress from the last class, so from the past, or already worrying about the meeting after this class, you know, like, so being here present. I like the image when you know, like, when you look at the ocean, you always love the blue ocean, right? So, but when is the ocean blue? When the sun is shining and the sky is blue and clear. So when the sky is cloudy, the ocean is gray. And I once learned in a book that try to see yourself as a teacher like the sky. If I am clear, I help seeing my kids clear, and also for them seeing me clear. And I like this pretty much. So sometimes when I see there's a tension in class, I check in with myself. So have I brought something in or not? Or do we all maybe need a sound of the bell, or just, you know, like a minute to calm down, or to get back into the present moment?
I like that. Do you remember Grandma saying, when I was complaining about the weather, she said, "My son, better a weather like this than none at all." That was very sweet. And since we were talking about acceptance and patience, and it takes at least as long for the kids as for ourselves to transform something and to really internalize and embody these values and water and cultivate these seeds, where I'm going with this, I wanted to say, Ty speaks about the orange tree and the orange. And he says, you cannot force an orange to be sweet.
To ripen early.
To ripen early, yeah? You cannot force it. It needs a lot of conditions. It needs the right place in the sun. It needs enough water. It needs a combination of everything, and
time.
And time, and a lot of time. So don't be too hard on you if you try mindfulness in the class and it doesn't work right away or the next day. And I remember you were also not successful immediately, and not only with the kids, but also with the staff and the principal. They were just not used here in Germany, as they were just not there yet. They didn't hear much about mindfulness, and they found it's a nice thing, but it's funny, and it doesn't really have a place here. We have to move on and do our stuff. And it took them a long time. Maybe you can tell that story, how it took a long time for them to acknowledge and see the change in the class.
Yeah. Speaking of this class, which was very difficult with all the suffering in class. So when I got to the retreat, I received a certificate after a week, and I was so proud and happy of this wonderful, beautiful certificate. And the next school day, I immediately went to the principal and, like handed it out for her to see that I have a special education now. And, like we do this. If you have an external education, you hand out your certificate. So, and I spent my fall break for this retreat, like I didn't do any external education during school time. I did it in fall break. So I thought like everything should be just fine. And she looked at it and said like, and like the title was Engage Buddhism. So I think this is not of interest for our school, but probably was a nice week, right? And handed it back to me, and that was all.
She didn't want to keep it even.
No, she didn't want to keep it, and she didn't want to. I asked her if she wanted to have a copy at least, but no. And at the teachers' conferences, everybody shares about their external educations when they go for reading or math or whatever. And I waited until it's my turn to tell about this mindfulness week, but nothing happened. So this was very difficult also to step up or not to step up, like I also don't want to go on a mission. So it was difficult for me how to cope with that. So I just decided to keep on teaching with my class and do my thing and, having a good time with my students. And after a while, this principal had a substitution hour in my class. And he came back to me and asked, what did you do with that class? Mm-hmm. So, and that was my hour to tell her. Yeah, so what helped.
Oh, that's wonderful. Sooner or later, someone notices the fruits.
Yeah. I remember while doing the level 2 program from the Happy Teacher Education, Wake Up School, Happy Teacher Education. I also were very impatient because I had some boys who didn't want really to participate. So my mentor back then said, well, it's all about planting seeds, right? You cannot accept that they are doing it immediately, but you don't know, maybe they're doing it in 2 years or they remember it and came back to it. So all you can do for now is planting a seed. And that helped me a lot to let go of all the, like also the expectations toward myself, to build very quickly a peaceful environment. So that's not going to happen. As we said, you cannot force something to be happy.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the differences you see of your curriculum and our curriculum in the practice centers, because we build in, of course, because Thai planted these activities in our schedule, so we sustain and maintain and cultivate these seeds throughout our activities. So we have in our monastic daily life every 2 weeks a happiness meeting where everybody shares the happiness they have experienced themselves or they have seen in others. So we share them out loudly in a circle every other week just to nourish these seeds of happiness in one another. And just by hearing them, by seeing the face, sharing them, it touches you and you hear something, right? Then every other week, from this every other week, we have beginning anews. And beginning anews are a beautiful opportunity to begin anew with myself, with a brother I was in conflict with self-guilt because I haven't attended the schedule as I planned to, or I wasn't as compassionate as I believe I should. And this is an opportunity for us to share this with the community, to let go of it, it's not a confession, it's to begin anew, right? So we also, and it has 4 steps. And the first step is also to water flowers of myself, of that brother I'm in conflict with, and to see the good sides, what I value, what I treasure, the beauty of it. And the second step gives me a chance to express my regrets, to say, I know I have done this and I see it has done damage and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I can also share about maybe when I see what has driven me to do that, maybe old habit energies, maybe just fast reaction without thinking, maybe a hurt and I haven't stopped and listened to myself long enough in order to embrace my own suffering, but have like just called out the third step is to also express difficulties, to say, when you said this triggered something in me because my dad said always the same thing to me, and I'm still deeply wounded because of that. So that makes it very difficult for me to stay calm, something like this. And the fourth step is to also look deeply and to see how we can support each other, because we want to build each other. And that's such a beautiful process. And this, in a nutshell, is also Thay's vision of the present moment. Every present moment can be a beginning anew for us to do something different when we see we're on the wrong path, that we watered the wrong seeds that don't do, and the wrong seeds are those who don't do us any good, who don't help our surrounding to grow, who don't help me to grow, right? And if we have meetings in the monastery, we never vote when we have decisions to make. Shall we buy this or that? Shall this brother go to another center or not? Or somebody wants to do a home visit. So we never say, okay, who's yes, who's no, but we always have a consensus of all brothers. You see, and this is very important in order to have harmony in the community. And harmony is the most important thing when you live in a Sangha together, that you understand each other. But also awareness. So a Sangha is a community that lives in harmony and awareness. So I don't always have to agree with what the other brothers are deciding, but I can still flow with a decision and saying, I see that differently. That would be my veto, actually. I see that differently, but I see all brothers agree to that, and I take refuge in the wisdom of all of you. And I will just not surrender, but let go of my own idea, and let's see what happens. And in case it goes totally wrong, I will be there reminding you of my suggestion, and maybe we want to overthink it. But you see, we always go out of a meeting in harmony, and it's never like, we never need Kamala Harris to give the one vote, that tips the decision. This will never happen, and everybody will agree. And there's also a precept that says, after a decision is made, we don't go back and complain about it or try to fight it, because in that moment we all agreed. And so I see that this is not happening in society or in schools yet, but it's very easy to apply. And many of our lay sanghas and lay practitioners have put this into their family life, like a beginning anew, a happiness meeting. And I know that Michaela had brought, how did you call them, the happiness meetings, happy showers or something, where they sat in a circle and everybody had to say something, what they see beautiful about another kid. And it's just about cultivating and watering these wholesome seeds we have inside of us. And it is possible.
It is possible. I facilitated children's Sangha in Dublin, and we had to make a decision some years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was about what we would call a practice, and there were different suggestions. We should call it moon or something. And I said, well, how should we decide? And someone said, well, let's vote. So we voted, and it was very close, but one got like one more vote. And then we'd kind of finished the voting, and then a child said, that doesn't feel as fair as we normally feel. And I was like, how else could we do it? And they were like, well, maybe we should keep listening. And like they kind of co-created this consensus culture between themselves. And we haven't taken a vote since. It's wonderful.
See how free they are. They are so free. They see the possibilities you have in that very moment. They are so free.
Yeah, my experience is, but you have to give them space to express themselves, to notice these little things, to be creative about caring for each other. And then there can blossom something very beautiful, and you have your Sangha, but suddenly your student becomes your teacher, and I always love these magical moments.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, if there's a teacher watching who is very tired and overworked and thinks, well, peace and harmony sounds fine, but I'm very busy. What words can you offer to support the teacher, maybe on Monday or right now where they're going into class?
Well, I think the most simplest practice and easiest and quickest is breathe and smile. So like take a breath, be aware of your breath, and put a nice smile on your face, and your students will smile back to you, and that's a magic moment again. So start with very, very sweet little thing you can do, like something which does not overwhelm you or put you under pressure, something very easy. And then little by little, see what does it make with you? Does it help? Does it heal? Maybe.
I also want to offer a practice, and it is very similar. So in our practice centers, when the telephone rings in the office or wherever, we stop. It's for us, the ringing telephone is a bell of mindfulness too. So when the telephone rings, we wouldn't like run there to the phone and say, hey, who is it? But we would stop our emotions, stop our thinking, relaxing our shoulders, being aware of our breath, uniting mind and body, coming back to the present moment, breathe 3 times relaxedly in and out, and then pick up the phone and say, hello. Yes, good day to you too, when they didn't say it, right? How have your day been so far? And you answer the call with a complete different energy. And we could do the same on a Monday morning coming into the classroom. You have the handle in your hand, you hear the kids screaming already behind it. Maybe there's a little window where you see like A is throwing a paper ball at B. You hold that handle, come back to yourself, you breathe 3 times, you put a smile on your face, knowing that you are there for yourself in that very moment, that you begin anew, that each moment can be a new beginning. And you forget all about your prejudices, your expectations, how you wish the classroom would look like or sound like. And you breathe and you open the door and say, good morning, dear children. It's so lovely to see you.
Yeah.
And this you can do for many opportunities. You just choose your day of your bell of mindfulness whenever you need it, most.
That is a wonderful invitation. I can imagine teachers physically going through their environment to kind of make commitments with different, like a door handle or a light switch or a blind, and just choose somewhere to monotask, to be
Yeah.
fully present for that moment.
We can choose also a path for walking meditation. We had that often, that I dedicate a certain way, for example, from my office to the restroom or from the restroom back, where I dedicate myself to walk mindfully and observe my breathing. And I might still be disturbed by someone asking me something, and that's okay, but I already have started to do so. So I didn't rush from the restroom back, or go from the car to the school building, or from the building to the car. And it has to be a short distance, yeah. These little things cultivated, they help immensely. And then you have a new idea and you find a new activity and it sparks new ideas. And then your days filled with nice little mindful activities.
Yeah, it feels very spacious when I sense that. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Nothing works. You just come to Deer Park and become a monk or a nun.
Well, on that note.
Well, before that, we still have the Happy Teacher Sangha. I was about to say that it's very helpful to have those meetings where you are among like-minded people and you can exchange your ideas or your challenges also. And everybody is there to listen deeply and to support you. So I highly encourage everybody to look out for a community where you can support each other. And also the book is very helpful. Happy Teachers Change the World. You see, I have marked a lot of pages because it's full of inspirations and also practices from other teachers around the world. So Yeah.
Fantastic. So we have details about the 2 Happy Teachers Sanghas. We meet, so there are 2 different groups that meet each month. So there's 2 opportunities each month, and everyone is very welcome to join. No experience needed. And the details are at wakeupschools.org. You'll also find the details about Happy Teachers Change the World, and other resources to support you in your practice, so you can take really good care of yourself, so you can take really good care of others. So, dear brother Freedom, dear Michaela, thank you so much for
You are like
so
you
many
are a blessing,
sharings of.
a gift to humanity.
That's very generous. That is very generous. So, yes, we look forward to staying in touch. So please do get in touch with Wake Up Schools.
And dear
Thanks a
teachers,
million.
go out and mindfully rock it.
Rock it. Yes.